Hello and welcome to the Security Plus Review Questions video series. The goal of this series is to help anyone preparing for the Security Plus certification exams increase their knowledge and confidence so you can pass the exam on your very first try. I am Seolito Rodriguez. The CompTIA Security Plus certification exam it's composed of five knowledge domain. So these are the skills that you will learn. Domain 1 is general security concepts. Domain 2, threats, vulnerabilities, and mitigations. Domain 3, security architecture. 4, security operations. And 5, security program management and oversight. We will have questions from each of these domains, plenty of questions. Now, the questions are not in any specific order. So this video series is intended for those of you who either have experience already, who do not need to go to a boot camp or any class and waste time with stuff that you already know, or someone who maybe have taken a Security Plus exam and just need to review questions that may appear in the exam. So again, if you don't have any knowledge if you're not an IT professional or a cybersecurity professional, if you come from another industry and you want to take a Security Plus certification exam, so maybe this video is not for you. So this is for someone who either have some experience or someone who has book knowledge about cybersecurity that wants to prepare for this certification exam. Question 21. During a security incident, the security operations team identified sustained network traffic from a malicious IP address 10.1.4.9. A security analyst is creating an inbound firewall rule to block the IP address from accessing the organization's network. Which of the following fulfills this request? And so here are the rules. Make sure that you read, and you don't have to be a network expert, but to pass this test and most cybersecurity tests, you need to have at least a basic understanding how network rules work. The correct answer is B. Access dash list inbound. That's the direction. It's either inbound or outbound. The action is deny. IP source. So the source of the whatever you want to deny is 10.1.4.9/32. This is the CIDR notation, and this is the way that most network rules expect. And again, the destination is the 0.0.0/0. That means everything, right? This rule blocks all traffic from that malicious IP to any destination in the organization's network. Now, A is incorrect because it blocks all sources going to the malicious IP, which is basically the opposite of what's needed here. C is incorrect because it permits traffic from the malicious IP address. This is an undesired behavior. And D is incorrect because it permits all traffic to the malicious IP. And again, this is the opposite of the goal. Question 22. A company needs to provide administrative access to internal resources while minimizing the traffic allowed through the security boundary. Which of the following methods is most secure? A. Implementing a bastion host. B. Deploying a perimeter network. C, installing a WAF, or D, utilizing single sign-on? The correct answer is A, implementing a bastion host. A bastion host securely mediates administrative access to internal systems by allowing access from a specific hardened entry point, minimizing exposed services. B is incorrect because perimeter network, DMZ, is useful for isolating public-facing services, not specific to admin access. C is incorrect because Web Application Firewall or WAF protects web apps, not used for administrative access control. And D is incorrect because single sign-on or SSO simplifies authentication but doesn't minimize traffic or secure admin access on its own. So here is uh, a picture, if you want to call it, of a bastion service. So let's say that you have developers, right, that need to connect to internal resources, but you don't want those developers to uh, connect to those resources directly. I mean, that would be a big mistake and it is insecure because then you need to again allow that connection to, and again you could have hundreds of developers trying to do that. So what you do is you create this bastion server, which is a very hardened server with a lot of requirements and stuff. And again, the bastion server concept, there are different ways of doing this. For example, in the cloud, both AWS and Microsoft have specific services that you can do that. You don't have to expose any public IP address. You don't have to expose protocols like RDP to allow this developers or any users, IT administrators, for example, use this all the time. You don't have to expose the internal resources. Now, sometimes the question comes in, or it could be a little bit confusing, the difference between what is a bastion host and what is a jump server. They're kind of similar in a way, but they also have the differences. So a bastion host is kind of like exposed access gateway, entry from external network. Normally it's related to some kind of external connectivity, while the jump server, it's internal access, that the pivot point, like movement within internal environments. For example, uh, most of the companies that I worked, we have this jump server, which is a server that has all the tools that we need, a very hardened server. And then from that server, so you need to RDP internally to that server. And then from that server, you pivot to other servers inside the network. So that's like kind of that central point that you go. So you RDP to the jump server, and from the jump server, you RDP to other servers, right? So that's the concept of the jump server or a jump box that we already discussed in some previous questions. The bastion host, it's more related to accessing stuff over the public network, the internet. So that's kind of like the main difference between these two concepts here. Question 23. A security analyst is reviewing alerts in the SIEM related to potential malicious network traffic coming from an employee's corporate laptop. The security analyst has determined that additional data about the executable running on the machine is necessary to continue the investigation. Which of the following logs should the analyst use as a data source? A, application, B, IPS or IDS, C, network, or D, endpoint? The correct answer is D, endpoint. Endpoint logs provide detailed information about processes and executables running on a device, making them ideal for investigating suspicious activity on a corporate laptop. A is incorrect because application focuses on app-specific events, not system-level executable details. B is incorrect because an IPS or IDS detects network threats but doesn't show process level data on endpoints. And C is incorrect because network shows traffic flow but not what executable generated it. To illustrate the concept of the previous question, this is a device on my Microsoft Defender for Endpoint tenant. And so I'm looking at the timeline to look at an incident that I saw. And so basically, this is a recent incident. And I see over here that there is this task called task host W that attempted to decrypt credentials. So something, whether it was something that I downloaded or something from a browser, is attempting to decrypt. Now, is this real or is this a false positive? Well, I don't know yet. This is something that I need to investigate. But um, if you look at the entities, or in this case, the processes, these are the actual executables, and it's related to the processes rolling in my computer. So again, in one of my computers in my network. So there's stuff going on over here. Obviously, Defender detected that. It has not, this doesn't pose a risk yet. It may be in the process of being investigated. But this is something that I should spend some time and take a look around to see what's going on over here. Anyway, so this is basically when we're talking about looking at the logs in endpoints. You can do this with a theme, but also you could do that with an EDR product like Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Question 24. A cyber operations team informs a security analyst about a new tactic malicious actors are using to compromise networks. SIEM alerts have not yet been configured. Which of the following best describes what the security analyst should do to identify this behavior? A. Digital forensics. B. E-discovery. C. Incident response. Or D. Threat hunting. The correct answer here is threat hunting, which involves proactively searching through systems and networks to detect threats that evade traditional defenses, especially useful before SIEM alerts are in place. A is incorrect because digital forensics focuses on post-incident analysis and it's not a proactive detection tactic. B is incorrect because e-discovery is related to legal data collection, not threat identification. And C is incorrect because incident response reacts to known incidents, while threat hunting seeks unknown or emerging threats. So we are here on the Microsoft Defender portal, specifically on the hunting blade. If you go to advanced hunting right here, there are tons of pre-canned templates that you can hunt for stuff, and also you can create your own query to hunt for things in the network. So this is a simple example of I'm hunting for the CVE 2025 21 571 just basically to see, you can replace that with whatever stuff. But this is a simple hunting that I'm doing, looking for a specific CVE to see if devices in my network have that. And I just want to replace the device ID and the device name. So when I run that query, then I get it over here. So this is one of my devices. That's the device ID, and it's part of my network. And yes, so now I could just go ahead and investigate to see. Now, in this case, this is a lab, and I only have one at this moment, one device. But if you could have hundreds, thousands of devices. And then once you identify that those devices have that vulnerability, then you can take um, uh, corrective actions, if you want to call it. So again, this is a simple example of what the one of the capabilities of hunting, advanced hunting in this case. Question 25. A company purchased cyber insurance to address items listed on the risk register. Which of the following strategies does this represent? A. Accept. B. Transfer. C. Mitigate. Or D. Avoid. The correct answer is B. Transfer. So purchasing cyber insurance shifts the financial impact of risk to a third party, in this case, the insurer, right? Which is the essence of risk transfer. Now, A is incorrect because accept acknowledges the risk without taking any action. So that residual, after you have implemented all controls, there is always some level of risk called the residual risk. And when that risk is small enough, or let's say that it's not worth it investing any effort, time, or money, then a lot of company accept. At some point, you have to accept risk. You have to accept some level of risk because it is impossible to mitigate risks 100%, holistically speaking, right? C is incorrect because mitigate implements controls to reduce the risk impact or likelihood. So when you configure a firewall, or when you buy a subscription to Microsoft Defender for endpoint, you are mitigating. Now, it could be any other product, not necessarily Microsoft. It could be CrowdStrike. It could be Sophos, etc. But the point is that when you implement a control, you are mitigating it, which is basically most of the stuff that we do in IT and cybersecurity is to mitigate risks. But obviously at some point you're going to have to either transfer or accept some risk. And finally is the avoid. So here avoid, option D, is incorrect because avoid eliminates the risk entirely by not engaging in the risky activity. So let's say that a company it's trying to open another division, another branch in another area, and it is determined that that area is too dangerous. It could be because there's too much crime, or maybe it's an area that is prone to earthquakes or tornadoes, or whatever it is the case. And ultimately, management gets together and say, you know what? There's too much risk by opening this business unit. Let's not do that at all. So by doing that, by not continuing with that project, you eliminate the risk entirely. So, and these are basically the four most common ways to respond to risks. Question 26. A security administrator would like to protect data on employees' laptops. Which of the following encryption techniques should the security administrator use? A. Partition. B. Asymmetric. C. Full disk. Or D. Database. The correct answer here is C, full disk. Full disk encryption, or FDE, secures all data on a laptop's hard drive, protecting it even if the device is lost or stolen. A is incorrect because partition only encrypts a part of the disk and it is less comprehensive than full disk. Asymmetric is a type of encryption, like, for example, the public-private key system. It is not a technique for laptop data protection by itself. And the database is incorrect because it encrypts unstructured data and it's not suitable for general laptop file protection. So here is a screenshot of the C drive on a Windows computer. So if you have a version of Windows, it has to be either Windows Professional or Enterprise. The home version and the basic business version of Windows, uh, whether it is 10 or 11, doesn't support this. But if you have a version of Windows, you're going to have BitLocker. If you right click on any on the hard drive, on the C drive in this case, if you right click on it, you have the option to encrypt the drive. You got to follow the instructions. Obviously, there's different kinds of. If your computer doesn't have a TPM, then yes, you could encrypt it, but it's a little bit different. Ideally, you should have a computer that supports that have a TPM chip for the encryption and decryption keys. But anyway, and then once the hard drive encryption is on, then you could suspend that protection. You could back up the recovery key. So you have a recovery key. It is extremely important that you protect those keys because if you encrypt your hard drive and anything happened to that drive, remember you cannot move this hard drive to another computer because it is tied to that specific device. So and also you can, if later on you decide, you can also turn off BitLock. But anyway, so simple example to illustrate the previous question about full disk encryption here. Question 27. Which of the following security control types does an acceptable use policy best represent? A, detective, B, compensating, C, corrective, or D, preventive? The correct answer here is D, preventive. Uh, an acceptable use policy, or AUP, is a preventive control because it defines proper behavior before misuse occurs, helping to prevent violations. A is incorrect because detective identifies issues after they occur, for example, logs and alerts. B is incorrect because compensating is an alternative control used when a primary control isn't possible. And C is incorrect because corrective takes action to remediate or recover from an incident. Question 28. An IT manager informs the entire help desk staff that only the IT manager and the help desk lead will have access to the administrator console of the help desk software. Which of the following security techniques is the IT manager setting up? A, hardening, B, employee monitoring, C, configuration enforcement, or D, least privilege? The correct answer is D, least privilege. Granting access only to those who need it, in this case, the IT manager and help desk lead, follows the principle of least privilege, reducing the attack surface. A is incorrect because hardening involves reducing systems vulnerabilities, but not user access control. B is incorrect because employee monitoring refers to tracking user activity, not restricting access. And C is incorrect because configuration enforcement ensures settings compliance, but not tied directly to user role access. Here I am on the Microsoft Azure portal, and we're going to illustrate how this role-based access control, which is a way of least privilege, implementing least privilege. So here I'm creating a security group. So the group type is security. The name is SG Help Desk Users. It is important sometimes to have some kind of like naming convention. I've always used SG to differentiate from other type of groups. So in this case, this is a security group. You could enter a description if you wanted to. This is a really important piece, and you can only do it once. So if you don't do this now, then you cannot use this. And it's Microsoft intro roles can be assigned to the group. So in other words, you can use a group and then assign a role to the group, and then you add members to that group. That's the best practice, right? The membership can be either assigned or dynamic. If you use to configure this, by default, this is set to now. But if you want to enforce Microsoft intro roles that can be assigned to the group, then the assign is mandatory. You cannot use dynamic group membership, right? Um, you gotta have at least an owner to a group. Obviously, there's no members here yet, but then in the future, when I need somebody, then I can do that. And then the role that I'm adding to this group is the help administrator role. So in Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud and AWS, you have this concept of directory roles or roles in general. There is Azure roles and directory roles. In this case, what I want to do is basically I want to assign this help desk role to that group. And so the help desk role can basically reset passwords for non-administrators and help desk administrator. That's its job. So again, one of the most common things in any network is to help people resetting their passwords because the password expire or because they forgot the password or there is a new user, etc. Right? And the help desk team does that. Well, you don't want everybody to do that, but also you don't want the help desk to have a lot of power. It depends on what they do, right? Every company is different. But in this case, we just want to create a security group. We want to make sure that that security group have a role, which is what we're doing over here, and then assigning that. So this is a typical example of what list privilege is all about. Question 29. Which of the following is the most likely, it's most likely to be used to document risks, responsible parties, and thresholds? A, risk tolerance, B, risk transfer, C, risk register, or D, risk analysis. The correct answer here is C, risk register. A risk register is a key tool for documenting risks, their owners, mitigation plans, and thresholds for action. A is incorrect because risk tolerance describes acceptable risk level, not a documentation tool. B is incorrect because risk transfer is a risk response strategy, not a tracking method. And D is incorrect because risk analysis evaluates risk impact and likelihood, but doesn't track ownership or thresholds. Here is an example of a risk register. You want to have a risk ID to identify these unique risks. You want to have a description. In this case, phishing email leads to credential theft. That would be kind of a risk. What is the likelihood? So again, in this case, it's median. The impact would be high because now the reason why the likelihood is median is because companies are even though phishing emails it's one of the most common attack vectors, but companies have a lot of controls in place like employee training or configuring tool like Microsoft Exchange online to block attachments phishing emails, phishing links, right? Now, if the cyber criminal, let's say that it's able to get someone for a phishing email, it could be really high. The company could suffer a lot of consequences if a ransom malware it's installed and it you get ransomware attack, and that happens, it has happened many times, or a business email compromise back attack where an attacker convinces a financial person to change the bank account number. Again, the impact could be high, and the level it's also high. Normally the owner is the IT security lead. Again, it depends on the company, but that sounds reasonable. What is the mitigation plan? Well, again, user awareness, training, email filtering, configuring the email program properly, um, trigger or threshold. Well, more than 3 phishing reports per week, for example, and then you have some current, it's ongoing, it has been resolved, something like this, because it's never completed. There's always something going on with phishing emails, and the idea is to try to improve and mitigate that. But again, you'll never be 100% secure for phishing emails because it involves the human element, which is the weakest in any cybersecurity environment. Question 30. Which of the following should a security administrator adhere to when setting up a new set of firewall rules? A. Disaster recovery plan. B. Incident response procedure. C. Business continuity plan. Or D. Change management procedure. The correct answer here is D. Change management procedure. Any changes to systems configurations like firewall rules should follow a change management process to ensure proper planning, approval, testing, and documentation. A is incorrect because a disaster recovery plan is used to restore operations after a major disruption, not for routine configuration changes. B is incorrect because incident response procedure guides actions during a security incident, not during planned changes. And C is incorrect because a business continuity plan ensures essential operations during disruptions, and it is not related to firewall setup. All right, this is the end of this session, and I want to ask a big favor of you. It takes a lot of time and preparation to create these sessions, so I would appreciate immensely if you were to like and especially to subscribe to my channel. I am producing this for free for you, but the idea is that I can generate enough viewers in the future so that this can pay by itself. So please subscribe to my channel, and also at the same time when I add content, which I will add regularly, you do not miss on the new content. Thank you.